The Eagles are in the number 1 seed in the NFC right now, the only undefeated team left in the league. What did you leave this game thinking about the Eagles?
That offense is just always going to have answers, even if it's not always doesn't always look pretty. It's this team, like it's just so hard to play them because if one guy botches, they run. Their offense is very unique and very unique, redundant. Way to go, Nate! But they run this offense that has just the RPO answers. Like how many times you see AJ Brown just wide open in a flat route? Like
I love him doing the slide on the RPO slide instead of the tight end. They have so many different wrinkles that they're throwing into this right now.
I want to compliment what they know what to lean into week in, week out on offense. Like every week they figured it out. The Cardinals game got a little wonky in the second half, but most of the time they know what to lean into that week. It's an offense that's built out of easy buttons, but I don't mean that in a bad sense. I mean, they know what their money plays are of that week and they just go boom, 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 boom. They just pound away at it until you stop it. And why not? They have good players. The run game is extremely sound. Their passing game, it's not, yes, they run a ton of RPOs, but nothing is gimmicky. There's not, like you watch the Ravens offense and you're like, what the hell are you trying to do there? You watch this Eagles offense, even for me, never being in a heavy RPO offense, I go, okay, I know who you're putting in the bind there. I know who you're reading there because it's all very sound. So sound offense, really good players, and they have answers. Like if you want to play 2 high, we do this. If you want to run 1 high, you do this. You don't have a lot of speed, we'll do this. You have a lot of power, or you do have a lot of speed, but not a lot of power, we'll do this. They're able to just change how they attack you. It's really, really hard to stop on that offense.
I was thinking about this the other day when I was thinking about the Bears offense and how I'm not overly disappointed with what the structure of it is. Like I do think that there's a little bit of square peg round holing it going on just because they've dropped Justin Fields into like what is a version of the Packers offense to a certain extent.
Right.
The Eagles have completely reshaped, and this is old hat. We've talked about this a million times before. They've completely reshaped what they've done around the skill set of Jalen Hurts and the skill set of their players. And it's almost just I'm more incredibly impressed with their flexibility over the last 18 months than I am disappointed in a coaching staff that can't do this. Right. And that's how I feel every time I watch the Eagles. And my prevailing thought after watching that game is that I'm a tiny bit worried about what the ceiling of the passing game is as we get over like an 18 to 20 game stretch. Hurts averaged 3.1 air yards per completion in this game, 3.1. He got blitzed on 48% of his dropbacks. And I do think teams are going to continue to do this. And we'll see what happens with Lane Johnson and the timeline with that. But even if you have that concern in the back of your mind, it's an unbelievably impressive how this team can win in so many different ways on offense and defense. Yeah. The offense can tap into whatever it needs given the situation when all those guys are healthy. Lane Johnson is one of the most important players on the Eagles offense, if not like a top 3. I mean, we can stack them up if you want to. He's right there. He's in the conversation. So if they lose him for any length of time, that flexibility starts to deteriorate a little bit. But they have that flexibility in offense, and then their defense can win games for them. Like the Cowboys were able to sustain with Cooper Rush because they weren't turning the ball over. They were able to do just enough. And they got dismantled over the first 2.5 quarters of this game by what the Eagles defense is on the back end. The talent that they have at every single level, that's why they can win these games in so many different ways.
And they feel like just such a complete team in the sense that because of their defense, they stay in good game scripts. The only one was the Jags game, which got switched on its head quickly, before halftime. So they didn't stay in that kind of negative game script that long. And that's the thing is that they know their offense is going to put together these drives and move the ball and just consistently do it. So defense plays really aggressive. And you can see they have a lot of hands on balls. There's a reason those tip balls become interceptions. That's because the guys are near the ball and they have guys at each level making plays. The linebackers are still a question mark a little bit. I know they said they Collinsworth and everything gave some shout outs and stuff, but whatever. Let's call spade. Their DB room is great. So all these teams that against them have to pass the ball because their offense is putting up points and their DB rooms get to tee off on guys and they're played really sound. They don't really beat themselves. And that's kind of what this team is. They don't really beat themselves. They are kind of keep coming at you, offense and defense. I agree with you as far as the offense, though. Just real quick, then that's why I want to compliment the defense and why it's a kind of a complete game by them. is that they don't get into these negative situations where we have to see Hurts dropping back. Like even every third and extra long is not their ideal place. It's not an ideal place for any offense, but especially for the Eagles. They don't want to sit back and drop back. Like that is just not how they're meant to win games. But credit to the defense for always keeping them in games when the offense is struggling, and the offense for always staying on schedule. Like it's just they just keep coming at you. It's a good team. It's a really good team. It's like the one blemish is, oh, they can't drop back, and then you look at their schedule and you're like, okay, well, who's going to make them drop back? Yeah, bye week: Steelers, Texans, Commanders, Colts, Packers. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we got maybe the Packers aren't some hotshot team at this point in time. So. Yeah, I'm still waiting to see some team make them drop back 20-something times a game, and we still haven't seen it.
Watching the defense tonight and just thinking about how all those guys ended up on the defense, the idea that James Bradberry was available to anyone.
Still insane.
And anyone could have signed James Bradberry for a very reasonable amount of money. It was $7 million. Like anybody. And you think about how many teams around the league need corner help. Hassan Reddick is on a 3-year, $45 million deal. The way that the deal was structured, his cap hit of $3.9 million this year and $6.7 million next year for what he has done for them this year. I mean, even when the way that they got Darius Slay, I've said this before, but I truly think that this team does as good of a job as anybody at turning over every single rock to look for contributors. The Mailata thing is part of that. Being able to get him in the 7th round and him coming out today before the game and saying, I went to Jeff Stoutland University is exactly awesome. Right. Like they've just been able to, the way that they've been able to develop players at hugely important positions because of somebody like Jeff Stoutland, their offensive line coach, the way that they've really tried to look under every single rock and turn at every single page to find players on defense to finish this thing off. Like they have weaponized the financial flexibility they have because of their quarterback. And that has allowed them to create the most complete roster in the NFC. And I think arguably the most complete roster in the league. Like the Bills are very, very good top to bottom. The Bills offensive line is not full of dudes.
No.
Like they subsist because their quarterback is able to allow their faults to matter less.
Yeah.
But if you look at it top to bottom, position and position, the Eagles are the best built roster in football. And I think it's nights like tonight that really allow that to shine. It's like they can beat you in 10 different ways because they have a guy that can change the game at 10 different positions.
I know I'm not, and this is not knocking Hurts here. I'm just saying it's the most quarterback proof roster. It just is, like, just with that O-line, those receivers up there and the defense and keep them in games. It's that O-line is, and I know Lane Johnson's out. No, the Mailata thing is great too. And just the double benefit of him taking him late in the draft was he was an international pathway player. So he didn't count as a roster spot when he first came in. So
stuff like that.
That's a bonus. Like, and now they got a bona fide top 5 left tackle in the league. Like, and it was a project in day 3. Like, that's just, it's the red paperclip constantly with this team.